Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing great out there. Thanks for tuning on in. We have not much of a change on the front of Jimmy Butler. We do have a little bit of playful social media fun that seems like a little shoddy shot at the Godfather, Pat Riley. And if you guys didn't see it, Jimmy Butler was at his restaurant, Big Face Coffee. He was working with a barista, and he says, see? He's like encouraging him. He says, see, I give you a compliment. That's what bosses do. They build you up. They don't break you down. And then gives a little thumbs up. Jimmy is tremendous at social media. That is, I think, probably part of the reason why I do think that the national perspective and probably the younger perspective is he's winning, I think, the battle of public opinion, which it's mostly just, hey, send him where he wants to go. Like, if you guys don't want him, you don't want him there. Why have him there? You know, I feel like a lot of the player podcasts that have come out, and there's a lot of good ones that I like. I love, although, you know, my favorite one, OGs, does not really touch on it, but Jeff Teague's podcast. I've seen Draymond comment on this. It's kind of been all the buzz. Everybody's, you know, getting their 2 cents in on this. Why wouldn't you? It's probably the juiciest story of the NBA right now, outside of Thunder and Cavs this week. But, you know, Jimmy's really good at social media. He's really good at social media. He's very good at sending messages subtly or not so subtly. He's a great troll. Even Pat Riley, before the biting, keep your mouth shut, he said his initial thought when he saw the Celtics comments that apparently made him so furious was, is this Jimmy trolling? Hey, you never know. You never know with Jimmy Butler. That is what makes me sense. And he's just gonna beat Pat Riley at that game right now. Pat Riley's like accidentally walking into memes in Levitard interviews. You know, like I'm like, oh man. As soon as I'm listening to that, I love the interview. It was really it was a good interview by Dan. I mean, you know, there's very few in the business as good at interviewing than Dan Levitard. You put it with somebody that he's got a long-standing relationship with, and hearing just how Pat Riley ticks, I loved it. But as soon as I heard that at the end, I'm just like, oh man. And then you got those rat bastards at Bleacher Report making graphics about maybe I am washed, you know, walking. It's just like, oh, great. That's how that's gonna go, huh? And it's almost just like you see a guy step up to the plate that just can't get the bat around on this stuff as fast as the other guy can. So I do feel like Jimmy Butler is winning the public battle of opinion from everybody maybe outside of Heat fans. And I know there are Heat fans that are still Team Jimmy. Like, look, I have been I've been a guy who had said this entire time, like, I was for paying Jimmy Butler. I was for paying Jimmy Butler his extra year, make it harmonious, make it happy, all that type of stuff. I never thought Jimmy Butler would get to the extreme of not playing hard in basketball games and having, that become a thing. I always thought that he would be at least in the spot where he was going to play hard because, you know, first of all, he had the safety net of a player option next year. It's not like he's on the last year of his deal. And, you know, I also just thought that, you know, with the relationships that he has in that locker room, that this was going to be something that would at least play out. And I think that people have said, well, just send Jimmy where he wants to go. And, you know, you guys weren't talking this way with the Damian Lillard thing last year. And I understand where people can come up with that hypocrisy or double take. For me, the big difference on that, and I think this is a pretty simple one, the Heat went into this season fine with having Jimmy Butler on their team. Like, they did have Jimmy Butler under contract. The Heat have not wanted to get rid of Jimmy Butler. You know, maybe he interprets not paying me an extra $60 million when I'm 37 as not wanting him. But the Miami Heat didn't go into this year saying, oh, we don't want Jimmy Butler on our team. Whereas the Portland Trailblazers were trying to tank, and they wanted Damian Lillard to go. They didn't want Damian Lillard on their team anymore. They wanted to rebuild. Same thing with the other guy who's in this whole controversy, Bradley Beal. Why is Bradley Beal not on the Washington Wizards anymore? It finally had to get to a point where he didn't, like, they basically said, can you please pick a place to go? Like, we don't want you here anymore as it goes. So, and Bradley at least had a no trade clause, so he had definitely a lot of pull into where he was able to go. So I don't think they're quite apples for apples, and I don't think that's quite the own everybody thinks that it is, because seemingly Damian Lillard is the only guy who's never gotten to go where he wanted to go. Not that he's in a bad situation here in Milwaukee, but that to me was always, I think for everybody, I get the people laughing at the Heat fan. I'm not sensitive to it, but I don't think they're comparable situations with this. Damian Lillard had a full blown contract with the Trailblazers, all deal. Like, it wasn't a money dispute. It was, hey man, you've done everything you've done. We're going in a different direction as a franchise. In my eyes, I think you should probably do right by a guy like that. With Jimmy, it's not like I want the Heat to send him to, the Slovenian basketball league or something like that. But the Heat would also be good with Jimmy Butler playing basketball for them. And I think that's the difference. It's like, hey, you're just not going to play like that. I never thought that it would get to that when I was talking about this in the summer. Obviously, once all the drama started kicking up and what happened against OKC where he walks out, he says he's sick, he's reconditioned, trying to, maybe you look back on the Domino's game in the locker room on that night of the Houston game. And I do remember saying that night, like, man, if they lost that game, I feel like that would have pissed a lot of people off. And that's maybe what the gamble was of Butler and his agent in that spot. And that's kind of what it feels like, is they're just going to get to the point where they're going to try and anger the Heat to the point of frustration that they will take a trade for Bradley Beal and take on Bradley Beal's contract, even if that means you just get Jimmy Butler out of here. Which, I don't know. We got two petty people here, man. Pat Riley, as much as I think Jimmy Butler is winning the social media game and the national narrative on all this stuff, you're still talking about Pat Riley, and Pat Riley can get dug in on his certain thoughts and his takes on these things. So I am curious, because the latest reports that really came out was that the Heat are telling their players, hey, he's probably going to play for us again. He's going to make his return. What's going to happen when Jimmy does that? I don't know, because I feel like all of it would be better if at least it seemed like he was trying to win basketball games. So I'm very, very curious. I mean, we're a week out from that. The Denver game is going to be it's going to be chaotic, I think. It's going to feel like a bit of a circus. And I know Spo, who apparently isn't addressing the Jimmy thing anymore, according to Ira Winderman, before each game, the Heat made it clear he would not be discussing the status of Butler. I'm guessing the next time that happens is going to be, I guess, after the Lakers game, should it happen. But it's going to be interesting, man. I'm curious to see if he does play, if we really get to the point where Jimmy does play. Because when the suspension happened, I thought there's no shot he's playing again. I thought there's no way in hell they'll figure it out. But I did that with the mind of, hey, Jimmy had gotten to the fed up point of, I'll go anywhere else. Reasonably, I'll go anywhere else. And then all of a sudden we had the twist this week of, but I won't go to Memphis, but maybe I won't go to Milwaukee, or actually I just want to go to this one place that's guaranteed me an extension. So much so, I don't know if you guys saw Kendrick Perkins, but he had said that not only do they have an extension waiting for Jimmy Butler, but it's so tied into that because it also means that Kevin Durant will sign his extension. And that's, that definitely would show why they are so insistent, not only because of their record and where they're at right now, because paying Jimmy is not really that, isn't that much of a hurt to them. They're paying Bradley Beal that money. So it's really a wash if you're talking about what they're paying out here. If they are able to get Bradley Beal off their books, then Jimmy is just basically going to be absorbed into that. But the Durant thing is interesting because Durant's squirrely, man. Durant, you never know. He's another one. Like, maybe he doesn't do it as Molotov cocktail style as Jimmy Butler does, but he can get unhappy. And if this season does go awry and they're not able to get Bradley Beal out of there and they're stuck with the roster, maybe he starts high wandering and looking out. And then that's another interesting thing from the Heat's perspective, because will they want to get back into the game for Durant? Like, will they take another hack at trying to get Kevin Durant here if he doesn't stick around with the Suns? I doubt that. But that has got to be another thing to think about. Be like, what are we going to do? We're going to satisfy Kevin Durant? Like, if Kevin Durant wanted to play with Jimmy Butler so much, why didn't he try and force his way here instead of Phoenix? So definitely something to keep an eye on. The one thing that I did find funny, though, the one thing on the national media that I had found hilarious, and I can't believe I thought this was my reaction, but I saw this thing from Stephen A. Smith where Stephen A. Smith was trying to almost shame Bradley Beal into leaving the Suns. And I don't really understand this. I don't know why Stephen A. Smith is leaning so much into buying the whole usage rate thing with Jimmy. I'm not really sure where that comes from. But then he's trying to say, like, well, Bradley Beal, why do you not, where's your pride in being on a team that doesn't want you there? And I'm thinking to myself, what? Where's your pride? And let me get this straight. You can't win for anything in this league because it's like you're either shamed because you're a spoiled brat and you want to go somewhere. Bradley Beal just wants to show up and do his job. And now that's a problem to to one of the most prominent voices in the national media who's like slandering his NBA career. And it's like, last I checked, he's the third option on that team. Why aren't the other guys getting the business as much as him? And you're talking about pride? Where's his pride? I think his pride is actually showing up and being a professional. Like, he was told, Bradley Beal's got credentials too. He showed up, all-star, wasn't he a scoring champion or close to it? And he was told to go to the bench. You know what he did? He's gone to the bench, and he's had 2 outstanding games. Last I checked, that is what being a prideful professional is. It's a little bit strange. I don't know, though. But I think that Jimmy is winning the national battle. One thing that was fascinating, this was before, Riley walked into being a meme on the Le Batard interview with that whole, maybe I am washed. God, I hate Bleacher Report. But they had posted, the Le Batard show had posted the clip of Dan like going at Pat Riley, and it said, I think something like Pat Riley has been a failure, Pat Riley has failed, and it was liked by Dwayne Wade, which was definitely one of those things that made me go, because then you go to like, D Wade had posted the house divided thing, and I was always trying to figure out like, well, why did he post that? Why did he say that? What was he doing? Like, where was his head at when he's talking about it? Because I can't really make heads or tails of it. Like, I know that him and Jimmy Butler have a good relationship. But I also know that he's got a tremendous respect for the Heat organization. Certainly the Harrisons, if there is any frostiness left with Pat Riley, although it didn't show on like body language or the celebration weekend or any of that stuff. He did show up to the court celebration as well. But, all of this public battle is going to be interesting because if we're sitting here in a week and Jimmy Butler has not been traded, what is Friday night going to be like? What are the fans going to do? If he's going to start, are the fans going to boo him? Are they going to cheer him? Like, I got a good response when these rumors were going on, I think, to show appreciation. But when you then are basically told by the fan base, hey, he dogged it, we suspended it for it, I got to imagine that's going to end in a harsh reaction, which then could also push it to maybe more urgency. Because, look, as much as I love Miami and our fans, we're not Philly as far as venom and being nasty. The only guy I can really ever remember getting a hostile reaction was like Hassan Whiteside. That's like the last guy I really remember. Just he left and the Heat fans couldn't wait to boo him, and it really hurt Hassan's feelings. He didn't like it because he made the whole "we got shooters" joke when he went to Portland. We got shooters who could dribble when he had CJ McCollum and Dame. But that's the last time I can really remember the Heat bitingly booing somebody in response to something they felt was wrong against the organization. D Wade, rousing ovation when he came back with the Bulls. LeBron, great reaction when he came back with the Cavs. I'm trying, I don't remember Shaq. Maybe Shaq got booed. I'm trying to, I wasn't there boots on the ground for that. and I don't recall. So I'd have to maybe go back and look or ask somebody who was there. But the point is, it's been a while. The last guy I can remember is Hassan Whiteside. And I am pretty curious to see how the Heat fans react that night against the Denver Nuggets should Jimmy Butler play. And I know that it's been said that the Miami Heat do not want to go to the place where they just pay Jimmy Butler to go away. I understand that. But this is going to be such a hard situation. We can't, because it's like with Jimmy right now, you can't take him at his word, unfortunately. Can anybody in that locker room step to him and just get the try out of him to make the best out of a bad situation? I don't know. I don't know who has that pull with him. I don't know who has that cachet with him. I don't know if any of it matters anymore. I certainly think Spo can put everything aside better than Pat Riley, and we've seen Spo and Jimmy Butler have some knockout, drag-out fights before. But it is definitely going to be a spectacle, which is definitely what the Heat do not want with all of this, is for Jimmy Butler and the Heat and this thing. And especially if, let's just say the Heat could get on some kind of a roll here, right? Like, let's say the Heat have a winning road trip and come back in a pretty good spot, and you get set up for this which should be a monster matchup against a team you never beat in the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets own the Miami Heat. They own Jimmy Butler, quite frankly. Man, I feel like any other night that should be such a prime Friday matchup. But it feels like your eye is going to be so off the ball that night. It's a hell of a challenge coming for Spo. It really is. It really is. On top of these games and finishing out this trip strong and all that. But look, the word is they're preparing for it. I don't know what that means, because everybody's reported that. They started reporting that this week after the Grizzlies thing, however real it was, seemed like it fell out. And, you even have some more NBA things that are like, oh, Jimmy's going to make it even more uncomfortable. I don't really know how he can, because it feels like if he does that again, then it's just going to go into a cycle of suspensions. But I acknowledge we're in a very weird spot, a very, very weird spot. Does that get to the point where the Heat will just bend the knee and take on Bradley Beal? I doubt it. I don't think they're going to take on that contract. They got to find a team. But as Bradley said, he holds the cards. This is really turned into a tough situation that doesn't really feel like it's got a clean outcome, especially once we get to those days that come up. The only thing that I would have said if I was the Heat, and they really don't think they're going to trade Jimmy Butler, and I still stand by this, and I don't know how he feels about this, because I know that he wants to control the media narrative. I think that I would have looked into bringing him back sooner, because just 7 games is a lot, man. It was a long suspension, and I think that if you were serious about it and you realize you got to the point where you're telling us, hey, once the suspension's over, to me, why not just get to the point where, okay, then just bring him back to the team and get ready for that? It just feels like it's going to be looming the entire time. So we'll see. But look, Jimmy Butler is very good at social media, and I think that does help in getting a lot of people on his side. The Heat fans that are pissed are going to be pissed. The ones that are with him are not going to be with him, but the fringe, the others who are kind of on the outside looking in, looking at this, I would say that Jimmy's winning that battle right now.